Jannik Sinner labelled overwhelming favourite for Australian Open as weak players slammed by former world no. 1 Stubbs, a former coach of Serena Williams, also described current players who struggle with hot conditions in Australia as pussies and weak. Sinner secured his maiden Grand Slam title at the 2024 Australian Open after coming back from 2 sets down to defeat Daniil Medvedev in the final. The Italian also saw off 10-time champion Novak Djokovic in 4 sets in the semi-finals. The 23-year-old will be the top seed for his title defense, having occupied the world number 1 spot since climbing to the peak of the ATP rankings for the first time in June. Sinner won 8 titles in his outstanding 2024 season, with his tally also featuring the US Open, the ATP Finals, and 3 Masters 1000 crowns. As he did in 2024, Sinner will begin his 2025 season in Melbourne as he has opted not to play a warm-up event. Speaking on the Rennae Stubbs tennis podcast, Stubbs identified Sinner as a heavy favourite to win his 3rd major at next month's Australian Open. Jannik Sinner, overwhelming favourite at the Australian Open, the Australian said. Petkovic, a former world number 9, agreed with Stubbs and explained why she feels the Italian is well suited to the year's first Grand Slam. For me too. I think the Australian Open is made for him, in terms of surface, in terms of ball, the German replied. I think he used to struggle there before he got incredibly physically fit and in shape, but now even the temperature doesn't seem to affect him. The only thing I see is, if we have a 42-degree type of day in Melbourne with the dry heat, he can turn a little ginger in the face as well as his hair. Stubbs addressed Petkovic's point about the heat and criticised modern players for how they deal with the Melbourne conditions. Yeah, but guess what? If it's that hot, they just close the roof, mate. These guys are pussies, okay? Let's face it, these players are weak, the former doubles world number 1 asserted. When I woke up and we saw it was going to be 42 degrees, we were like, and for Americans, that's like 110 degrees, we were like, oh my god. I'll never forget playing one match there, and I remember walking out of the locker room, outside because we were of course downstairs in the air conditioning, and then you go out to play the match. I remember saying to myself, sitting down, taking my racket out of my bag, and I literally said, "Dear God, please help me today." It was so hot. There's no, oh we're gonna stop after the 2nd set, or, we're not gonna play tennis today because it's too hot. Was like, too bad, deal with it. Thank God that I won that match in straight sets, but I'll never forget that I sat down and went, please God, please God, please God. It was so hot.